Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott, I'm the Emperor of Stomaria, and today I'm very pleased to announce that the Republic of Vesta has been incorporated into the Empire of Stomaria as an observer state. Now, the Republic of Vesta is quite an interesting micronation, because even though they're exceptionally new, only a week or two old at this point, they are nevertheless governed by a very seasoned micronationalist, and he is relatively well known within certain circles. Now, this history is quite interesting because under different circumstances, the Republic of Vesta would not have been created at all. And so I wanted to delve into this a little bit before discussing the Republic of Vesta itself and the relationship it's going to have with Stamaria. But this story actually goes back to 2021, last year, when David, the individual that founded the Republic of Vesta, came across the Empire of Stomaria's YouTube channel. They delved into some of the videos, some of the content that we had, and during this time, we were actually trying to build closer ties with the Empire of Eternia based on trade, would you believe? And they actually ended up joining Eternia, I think primarily because they were more local to them. David is from the United States, and as I understand it, they're comparatively speaking only a stone's throw away from where Emperor AP of Eternia resides. Now, David was clearly very committed to Eternia. He contributed quite significantly in terms of financial contributions. He helped to monitor their Discord server to some degree or another, but I think what he is probably best known for within that circle, within that community, is his metalworks, where David was creating copper ingots for Eternia. And he was such an important aspect of Eternia in that sense that they actually designated him David the Blacksmith, Eternia's blacksmith. And this went on for a short while, but very quickly relationships between Stamaria and Eternia soured when Emperor AP of Eternia first refused to send over the agreed goods to Stamaria after they had received our silver and our merchandise, and then when we requested the silver and merchandise be sent back in lieu of the merchandise and ingots that Emperor AP refused to send us, they also refused to send our own silver and merchandise back to us. And to this day, Emperor AP still has our silver, still has our merchandise, and we've not received anything back from them. So this is obviously something that soured relations quite severely. And David was one of the Eternians, but by no means the only Eternian, that actually contacted us during this time when this was all sort of put out into the public domain. And he offered his apologies. He was very sympathetic to what we had gone through, and he even offered to put up the funds to cover the cost of sending our merchandise back, and we actually refused because we didn't consider it the duty of private Eternian citizens to bail out the governing body of Eternia, in this case Emperor AP. Now, for a little while things simmered down. We didn't attempt to approach Eternia in any shape or form, but it wasn't until maybe 3 or 4 months ago, maybe a bit sooner than that, we decided that we would like to reignite the idea of a trade agreement with a micronation from the United States. And we struggled to find a suitable candidate. A few were approached, but nothing really came of it. But then it was suggested to me that we could potentially contact David, because he was, although he was an Eternian citizen and remains an Eternian citizen, he was nevertheless a private citizen that had particular skills which we could potentially benefit from. And so we approached David as an individual and said, would you be interested in creating some copper ingots, sending them to us, and we'll send you Stamarian staters, silver Stamarian staters, in return. And they were very happy to do that. So we hashed out a trade agreement with David, and we waited for them to arrive, and we are still waiting for them to arrive. And once they do arrive, then we'll send over the staters to them. And when we made a public announcement about this, when we said that David was creating these ingots for us, the reaction from Emperor AP, I'm told, was to message, to text, to call David and tell him not to send the ingots. Apparently he wasn't satisfied with himself not honouring a trade agreement, but he was quite determined to ensure that others also didn't honour their own agreements with Stamaria, for whatever reason. I mean, this literally had nothing to do with Emperor AP himself, but he still felt inclined to try to halt the agreement for one reason or another. Now, David, apparently unlike AP, was more committed to honouring the agreement than AP previously was. And so, given the ultimatum, he decided to leave Eternia and establish his own micronation. Now, when I informed the other member states of the Empire of Stomaria, so Wayward, Molossia, Moreland, and some others, which I'll get onto in a minute, they actually said, well, why don't we look towards building a more formal relationship with the Republic of Vesta, which is the micronation that David eventually decided to set up. And so we approached David about that, and he quickly agreed. I mean, as I say, he was brought into the Micronational community and was sort of, not indoctrinated, it's not the right word, but he saw how micronations operated and how they worked, primarily through Stamaria. That we were his first point of call, if you like. And so there was a natural rapport there. And I'd been aware of David for some time. I'd had conversations with him online before. And so he was a natural candidate, I think. And for the record, I always think it is best for people to join micronations before starting their own, because it does give you an idea of what to do and what not to do in a very real sense. And I think David will benefit from that greatly. So it was decided that the Republic of Vesta would become an observer state within the Empire of Stomaria. Now, an observer state, for those that don't know, is simply a micronation in which the highest authority of that micronation does not own any private freehold land, which is essential for forming a part of Stamaria's territorial empire. We never claim sovereignty over territory. We don't include it as a part of the territorial empire if it's not privately owned by someone, either the imperial family or by the highest authority of another micronation. But the observer state is an option for those micronations that want to form a part of the Empire of Stomaria, to want to form a part of our community, the trade network that we're looking to establish, but don't have private freehold land. Now, we are in the process now of getting the Republic of Vesta involved more directly in the Stamarian community. I've already had 2 meetings with David and with the other leaders of the micronations that make up the Empire of Stomaria. They've all met each other for the most part, and it's all going well. I'm very excited to be able to say that the Empire of Stomaria has a foothold in the United States now, as with the Republic of Vesta being a representative, if you like, of Stamaria in North America, which is terrific. Now, the name Republic of Vesta is actually inspired by the late Roman Republic, late Roman Empire, with Vesta harking back to a Roman goddess, and I suppose by default a Greek goddess, because as many people will know, the sort of Greeks and the Romans, they kind of they borrowed the culture from one another. I think particularly the Romans borrowed it from the Greeks, but that's not for here. So there was an attempt to try to link the Republic of Vesta to that period, and that is quite exciting for me, because I do like micronations that try to link themselves back to ancient history. That's certainly where a lot of the inspiration for the Empire of Stomaria comes from. And so there's always a natural rapport there with micronationalists that delve into that, because I think for the most part, if micronation is founded based on inspirations from ancient history, it tells me that that micronationalist has done some research, has delved into things a little bit, and probably has a more well-rounded view of how to go about establishing a nation state, if you like, at least to some degree or another, than most others out there who think it might just be a cool idea to run a nation. So there's that aspect to it, which I'm quite excited about. But the Republic of Vesta, as a trade partner, obviously they do a lot of metalworks, and it is possible and probable that we will import more copper going forward. But in terms of being cost effective, I think what we'd like to do is establish the Empire of Stomaria's base of operations in North America as the Republic of Vesta, where status and merchandise can flow through the Republic of Vesta to other micronations, micronationalists in North America and beyond, because it'll be closer to home. It'll be cheaper to move goods and services around. And the Stomarian stater, I don't care if it's comes directly from us. What I would like to see going forward is micronations like the Republic of Vesta taking those Stomarian staters and using it to purchase goods or trade goods with other micronations in North America without my involvement, because that's the purpose of the silver Stomarian stater. It is a form of sound money. It's not based on faith. It's a genuine silver coin. And so utilizing this in such ways is very exciting, and the prospect of reaching out across the Atlantic in that way is very exciting as well. So I look forward to working with David and the Republic of Vesta in establishing that trade network from across the sea. And again, it's just a very exciting prospect to me, because we've been desperate for a long time to get North America to start accepting Stomarian staters. We have some in Europe, we have some obviously, well, I say some, we have a lot in the British Isles, but none in North America, or very few in North America. And I would like to see that flow a bit more readily into that kind of region, so it can be trading exchanges between micronations up there. But in terms of other micronations getting involved in Stamaria, just while I think about that, there is another micronation called Branhau, the Duchy of Branhau, and they will soon be formally incorporated into the Empire of Stomaria as well as an associated state. And I'm going to make another video about that another time. But it is all very exciting, because the wheels are turning. More micronationalists are joining the Empire of Stomaria, more micronations are joining the Empire of Stomaria. The amount of land, the amount of activity, the amount of trade, the amount of enthusiasm, it's all on the rise, and it's very exciting. And so with all that in mind, if you did want to become a part of the Stomarian community yourself, either as a private citizen or as a leader of another micronation looking to incorporate their micronation into the Empire of Stomaria, become a part of that trade network and a part of that community, as an autonomous territory, as an autonomous part of Stamaria, then you can do so through our Patreon campaign, the link of which I shall leave in the description below as always. You can also find the details of the other micronations that make up the Empire of Stomaria in the description below as well. But otherwise, if you did enjoy this video, then please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.